responses. The member from Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. Monsieur le Président, je prends la...
Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking today before the legislature to underline the local food. The week of local food is celebrated each year, and this is the third year.
It's an honor for me and thank you for the speech, Mr. Lee. It's an honor for me to be able to stand on behalf of Andrew Horwath and our NDP caucus to talk about Local Food Week, which is June 6th to 12th. And coming from Northern Ontario, I hope there's things down here that are growing that you can eat already, because we just finished planting. So there's nothing to eat except maybe asparagus from Northern.
Yummy.
So anyway, so sometimes we wonder why it's so early, but we are incredibly fortunate in this province that we have access to the great food that's available here. It's a good initiative that we create more access, because I remember as a farmer but local produce had trouble getting into supermarkets because it wasn't uniform enough, and that's changing. And I think that's a big advancement for us all. But when we really think about local food, we think about farmers markets. As the minister mentioned, there's going to be a great farmers market on the lawn at Queen's Park tomorrow, and there's great farmers markets across the province, as there is in my riding. And I'm going to mention a couple of them. In my riding, we have one in Temagami, we have one in Cochrane, we have one in Timiskaming Shores, we have one in Evantural Township. And on July 2nd, at 9 a.m., we are going to open in my riding the Mill Market in Iroquois Falls, and that's a great moment for them. Iroquois Falls has had some tough times, and they're rebounding, and they're looking for other opportunities, and I'd like to congratulate them for that. June is also Dairy Month, and if you think about that, dairy has been local food before people knew what local food was.
That's right.
And that's mostly because of a unique system we have in Canada called supply management. And that protects farmers from price volatility, and also it protects their market, and it ensures consumers that they get a great product at a fair price. And that's more local than almost anything I can think of. So if you're thinking about local food and you want a dairy product, check where it's made. Make sure it's a good way to check is if it's got a little blue cow. That ensures that it's Canadian. But that also, and as the minister said, Kawartha Dairy, I was going to start off with Thornlow Cheese, a great cheese factory in my riding. There's Chapman's Ice Cream in Mr. Walker's riding, I believe. You know, and so there's all kinds of great local dairy. But there's also things that we could do to make local food more accessible. And I think so. We shouldn't just sit in our laurels. We should look at issues that we can fix. One issue that a lot of local, especially further processors, face is hydro costs. They have to compete. Even local food has to compete, because if it's too high priced, people will shy away. A lot of people only have so much money to spend, and so hydro costs is a big one. We have to make sure that we harmonize regulations, because in some cases, products that can be sold at one market from a vendor cannot be sold at another market, even though it's exactly the same product. If it's safe at one market, it should be safe at another market. That's something we work on it locally, but that's something we have to make sure gets done across the province. And another one that really, when farmers try to further process their food, their production, so they can sell it, often their taxes go through the roof, because MPAC looks at as more of a commercial industrial. So it's a huge roadblock, and that's something that we have to work together or independently. We have to get this done, because there'd be a lot more local food if farmers could actually afford to process their own production. That's a big point. There's things we can do to make this province have even more access to the greatest food, not only in the country but in the world. Thank you, Speaker.